Imagine the emotions of grieving parents standing before thousands of people at a political rally. Their son, a passionate supporter, had recently passed away in a tragic accident, and they were invited to share their story at one of the most high-profile events of the year. This is the story of Barbara and Hugh Rohn, a moment of pain and vulnerability, mixed with the unexpected kindness of a presidential candidate. Just days before the presidential election, Donald Trump held a rally in Hershey, Pennsylvania. The atmosphere was electric as thousands gathered to support the candidate. The crowd was loud, energetic, and filled with anticipation. Trump's rallies were known for their high energy, but tonight something different was about to happen. Midway through his speech, Trump paused and asked the audience if they would mind a brief break from his usual talking points. The crowd quieted as he scanned for two people, Barbara and Hugh Rohn, whom he had invited to join him on stage. Their son Riley had recently passed away in a motorcycle accident, and Trump felt it important to honor his memory in front of this large audience. Riley, a young man who had been one of Trump's biggest supporters, would have been voting in his first election that year. As Barbara and Hugh made their way to the stage, the usual chants of "Make America Great Again" fell silent. The couple's grief was etched on their faces, and the crowd seemed to understand that this moment was different from the usual rally spectacle. When they reached the stage, Trump greeted them warmly, shaking Hugh's hand and offering Barbara a rare, tender hug. Barbara was handed the microphone, and as she stood in front of the thousands of faces, it was clear that the moment was overwhelming. The crowd, usually loud and passionate, had gone completely silent, waiting for her to speak. For a brief moment, it seemed like Barbara might not be able to find her voice. She looked down, gathering her strength, before looking up and finally addressing the audience. Barbara explained that despite being invited by Trump, neither she nor her husband were supporters of his campaign. Yet their son Riley had been a passionate Trump supporter, to the point where Trump's name had even been mentioned in his obituary. Riley's love for Trump was something his parents had respected, even though they didn't share his political views. For them, standing on stage wasn't about politics, but about honoring their son's memory. She went on to share how, after Riley's passing, a friend of Riley's had written to Trump, telling him about how much Riley had admired him. To their surprise, Trump had written back. Barbara revealed that it wasn't just a generic response. Trump's letter was deeply personal and heartfelt. A few weeks later, they received a phone call from Trump's office, asking if they would like to speak with him directly. Barbara recounted how Trump had spent a significant amount of time on the phone with them, offering his condolences and even expressing that he would give everything he owned if it could bring Riley back. As Barbara shared her story of losing her son Riley, the crowd began to see a different side of the man running for president. This wasn't the loud, fiery Trump they had seen on the campaign trail. Instead, it was a man showing genuine compassion and kindness to a grieving family. The room fell silent, and everyone listened intently to Barbara's words. When she finished, the crowd erupted into applause. But unlike his usual style, Trump stood quietly with his hands crossed, nodding solemnly, allowing the moment to belong to Barbara in the memory of Riley. Hugh, Barbara's husband, then stepped forward to the microphone. With a soft smile, he complimented his wife's bravery, saying, "She does a good job, doesn't she?" The crowd responded with cheers, recognizing the courage it took for her to speak so personally. As the Rohns stepped back, Trump dedicated the rally to Riley, a gesture that drew even more applause from the crowd. What started as a typical campaign rally had transformed into something deeper, a moment of shared grief and humanity. After the event, the story of Barbara, Hugh, and their son Riley spread across social media and the news. Many were touched by the strength of this grieving family and how they honored their son's memory. Barbara hoped her words helped people see the compassion they had been shown, and more importantly, that Riley's memory would live on. The story of Barbara and Hugh Rohn is a reminder that behind political headlines are real people and real stories. Riley's spirit remained with them as they honored his memory in a public and heartfelt way. Would you have the courage to share such a story? Let us know in the comments.